Do you like games with crafting elements, but all those gritty survival games are too nerve-wracking, while all those complex LEGO Technic like big brain games are just too damn frustrating for you? Well, then this video may be for you. Hi, I'm Leon, one of the two peeps working on the cozy gardening game GOLEMBERT. Recently we started reworking our crafting system from a basic 1 + 1 = 2 system to a super chill but also very strategic node-based system thingy, and I wanted to share parts of that process with you today. The main mechanic of GOLEMBERT is the dynamic gardening system, which I talked about in my last video, which you can check out via the I button in the top right corner if you haven't seen it yet. But besides our mildly strategic gardening system, we plan to have some kind of complementary systems that broaden the scale of our game from a minimalistic gardening only game to a rather maximalistic kind of slice of life sim. So first I will briefly talk you through the development process as well as the problems of our former crafting systems. Then I will explain the ideas behind our current node-based crafting system, show you how it looks like, and lastly how it was made. The first iteration of our crafting system consisted of some kind of interactable crafting station like a workbench or a crafting table, a crafting UI and recipes. Once you clicked the crafting station, the UI plopped up and showed you all the recipes you currently know that are associated with that station. That meant that pot recipes were only shown when you clicked on a workbench, tea recipes were only shown when you clicked the kitchen, and so on. Crafting something was really just clicking the recipe icon, understanding what elements are needed, inputting them and clicking craft. There weren't a lot of brain cells active or hormones released when doing this, briefly speaking, so we thought about how to make crafting more interactive. The idea we came up with was to compensate the lack of interaction with the crafting stations through processing stations. They were interactable objects that opened different UI windows in which the player had to interact in different ways to conduct processing. For example, the player had to swirl the mouse around to mortar stuff. To dry or cook stuff in the pan, the player had to heat the fire to the right temperature and stir. These objects were placed near the crafting stations and were used to transform basic garden eels into other forms. For example, a mortar would transform mint leaves from the garden into mint oil that could be used for crafting ointments. The pan instead transformed mint leaves into dried mint leaves that were needed to make tea. They were basically preceding the crafting process as a preparatory interaction. And though their interactions were fun, crafting stuff became something that suddenly required a lot of information and in-game logic that wasn't really what we meant when we wanted the player's brain cells to be more active. We ourselves noticed us thinking about what processing station would be appropriate to process berries into jelly while playtesting. So though we wanted to have a more maximalistic approach to crafting, maybe processing was the way to go. At that time we also started to rethink what one could craft in our game. Until then we thought that having a flourishing garden would be a great fit to more realistic recipes like teas and ointments, but after speaking to a publisher who gave us a lot of feedback, we decided to throw out processing, normie recipes and even the idea of different crafting stations like workbenches and kitchens, and have only one main, and hopefully understandable, crafting station for everything. What were we hoping that this change would bring us? Our main concern regarding all of our crafting systems, even the first one, was the understandability. Having 3 different crafting stations alone is something that could be questionable sometimes when the player has to find out which crafting station fits a recipe the most. But adding 6 different processing stations and having recipes that have 3 different value tiers depending on the quality of input is just too much. Our secondary concern was the importance of crafting for the game loop. Our first 2 crafting systems felt like an afterthought and were never used in any playtestings that weren't executed by ourselves. That didn't mean that our playtesters hated our crafting systems because they never used them. But it meant that they didn't work for our vision of a game that has one main mechanic, gardening, and 2 or 3 secondary mechanics that add fun to one's playthrough depending on which player type they are. And our tertiary concern was the feeling that crafting jelly may be something that bores our players after some time of playing. We needed some magic. So our ideation goals for our third and current crafting system iteration were to unify crafting in one cool crafting station / screen, to make crafting mandatory for the game progression through specific quest lines, and to rebrand the crafting setting into something cool. And what's cooler than magic, we thought, and agreed that crafting magical potions would be cool to do. The first idea we had to make the crafting interaction itself cooler was to add some kind of pattern or code one has to apply to the ingredients to craft something, just like a magical spell. We based these codes on Sephiroths, which are the 10 godly emanations in the Kabbalah, which is a school of Jewish mysticism that is highly associated with the concept of the golem as well. But we realized that all those fast fixes didn't spawn enough game time as well as fun. We really needed to change our crafting system radically, so we started to view it as a game within our game. The first things we asked ourselves when we started designing our potion crafting game were, where is the player and how do they move? Because of the magical theme we wanted to have within our crafting screen and the connected patterns of our Sephiroth crafting system, we came up with the idea of a map of a starry night, like the Sternenhallenentwurf of the Bühnenbild of the Zauberflöte by Schinkel, in which one moves from star to star to assemble an astral code to craft a potion. So after interacting with the potion crafting desk, the potion crafting UI should plop up. One should always start in the middle of the map of the night sky, which is marked by one big star/node called the origin node. The origin node is connected with a few start nodes, which are interactable at start. To unlock other nodes/stars, one needs to input the required items into the start node they are connected to. This kind of movement from node to node leads to specific crafting nodes in which one can decide if they want to unlock the node and move on, or craft the node's recipe and be reset to the origin node. This kind of movement through nodes that are only interactable when their preceding node is unlocked also leads to a Pelmanism/Pairs-like gameplay where the player tries out different paths to find out which recipes are found on its way. How did we implement that kind of system? Because our project is structured in two scenes always being active at the same time, one being the essential scene that includes our canvas and the other being the actual level scene, we had to separate between UI and non-UI script categories. UI script category is easily explained because it only consists of the potion node panel script that manages all the UI elements that are associated with the potion crafting. The non-UI scripts are the node scripts of every node object and a node manager that coordinates all the interactions between nodes. The most basic of these scripts are the node scripts. A node can be hovered over, which recolors it, clicked, which opens the node info UI in the potion crafting panel, and recolored, which changes the color of the node and its connectors and is called by the manager, panel, and node script itself. The node manager is used as an interface between the potion panel and its nodes. Therefore, it has only two functions: to make all start nodes interactable on start or reset, and to make all following nodes of an unlocked node interactable and the unlocked node non-interactable again. The most complex script is the one of the potion panel. It consists of 600 lines of code, therefore I'm going to skip a lot of details here. Most of its functions coordinate the display of the node info UI or basic functionalities like opening, closing, or resetting the potion crafting scene. But if I had to point out the coolest detail of that script, it would be the concept of unknown recipe elements. Because recipes basically consist of two main values: input item slots and whether they are known by the player or not. If the player clicks a node and its recipe has unknown elements, their item icons and tooltips will not be displayed. Therefore, the player has to try out different items or make sense of the hints they get from the currently still missing Helio at the bottom right corner. So currently one can access the potion crafting scene and UI via a potion crafting table and start at the origin node, unlock the start nodes and their following nodes through item input until one reaches a crafting node where they can decide whether they want to unlock the node or craft the recipe. We are planning to add more features like the essential Helio at the bottom right corner. He will chit-chat with you and give valuable hints while you think about what unknown elements you need for a certain node. We also want to add more convenience and visually pleasing features. We will arrange the nodes in a way that they resemble zodiac signs, which are shown when you zoom out of the night sky, for example. Do you have any suggestions what we should add to our potion crafting? What potions would you like to be able to craft? Leave us a comment. If you liked this video, consider following us and subscribe. I would also appreciate it if you could give me some feedback on the style and pacing of my videos, because I had the feeling that my last video about permaculture was a bit too info heavy and fast paced. Was this video more entertaining and chill to watch for you? Please let me know. Anyways, thank you very much for watching. We'll hear each other in the next one. Have a nice day. Bye!